All right. Let's dive into this Trump on Rogan interview you sent.
Yeah,
It's a long one.
it is.
So, knowing your interest in how political messaging works, I think this is going to be
Oh, yeah.
pure gold for him. So
Absolutely.
we're going to extract some of the most surprising claims and insights from this conversation. The
Yeah.
things that really make you think.
I think what's fascinating here is we get a glimpse into Trump's thinking completely unfiltered.
Yeah.
By the usual media lens.
Yeah.
It's a chance to analyze his claims, his strategies, and his worldview
Right.
directly from the source.
Yeah. And it starts right off the bat with him calling his time in office surreal,
Yeah.
even comparing it to getting shot.
Wow.
He actually says getting shot felt more grounded in reality.
Really?
Have you ever felt that disconnect in a high-pressure situation?
Oh, absolutely.
Like you're watching yourself from outside?
Yeah, it's a powerful image,
Yeah.
You almost get the sense he wasn't prepared for the weight of the office.
Right.
The constant scrutiny,
Yeah.
the feeling of being trapped in a bubble.
Yeah.
And it challenges that image of Trump as this supremely confident,
Figure.
figure.
It does. And then he talks about visiting the Lincoln bedroom for the first time.
Okay.
And honestly, I was surprised by how emotional he gets.
Oh, really?
He talks about the details of the room, Lincoln's height,
Mm-hmm.
even his struggles with depression.
Yeah.
It humanizes him in a way we rarely see.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how much of that,
Yeah.
tough guy persona is a performance.
Yeah.
And it also highlights his connection to history.
Right.
How even someone like Trump can be moved by the legacy of those who came before him.
He even goes on to compare Lincoln's struggles against Robert E. Lee to a fighter getting the yips.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an unexpected analogy coming from Trump, but it makes you see history in a new light, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It makes those larger-than-life figures relatable, even flawed. And that seems to be a key part of Trump's appeal.
Yeah.
This framing of himself as an outsider,
Right.
a non-politician who's battling against the establishment.
He hammers that point home when he talks about making appointments,
Yeah.
saying he had to rely on recommendations from people he didn't even know.
Right?
10,000 appointments.
Wow.
No wonder he says his biggest mistake was picking the wrong people.
Oh, interesting.
He even throws out names like John Bolton and John Kelly,
Okay.
using the term neocons,
Right?
which, for those who don't know, refers to a group that generally favors a more interventionist foreign policy.
Yeah.
This gives us a glimpse into how those decisions were made
Uh-huh.
and the regrets he has looking back.
And it feeds directly into his survival narrative.
Yeah.
This idea that he was constantly under attack,
Right.
that he had to fight just to stay afloat.
Right.
It resonates with people who feel like the system is rigged against them,
Yeah.
that the elites are out of touch.
He ties this feeling of being under siege to his deep distrust of the media,
Yeah.
especially CNN, which he calls crooked.
Right.
He claims they deliberately misrepresent him,
Yeah.
driving people towards what he calls new media and independent sources.
Right.
It's a tactic we see a lot, discrediting any sources that don't fit your narrative.
It's a powerful strategy in the age of information overload.
Yeah.
When people are bombarded with conflicting messages,
Right.
they tend to gravitate towards sources that confirm their existing beliefs.
Right.
And Trump is a master of exploiting that tendency.
He even alleges outright fraud by 60 Minutes,
Oh, wow.
claiming they edited an interview with Kamala Harris to make her look better.
Really?
Now, whether or not you buy that specific claim,
Yeah.
it plays into a broader distrust of traditional media.
Right.
It makes people wonder, who can you trust?
That's the key question, and
Yeah.
it's something that every news consumer needs to wrestle with.
Yeah.
How do you discern fact from fiction in this increasingly complex information landscape?
It's a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
And it's something we'll definitely keep exploring as we dive deeper into this interview.
Right.
But speaking of challenging the status quo,
Yeah.
Trump's economic views are anything but conventional.
Okay.
He straight up says he loves tariffs
Wow.
and even floats the idea of replacing income tax with them.
Really?
I mean, who does that?
It's pure America First economics.
Yeah.
He believes in protecting American industries and jobs,
Right.
even if it means disrupting global trade or increasing the deficit.
Yeah.
And he claims his tax cuts and deregulation were highly effective,
Yeah.
but that the COVID pandemic derailed his plans to pay down the debt.
And yet, despite his economic nationalism,
Yeah.
he's a huge fan of Elon Musk and Starlink.
Right.
He praises Musk's ingenuity
Uh-huh.
and contrasts it with the government's $42 billion internet program,
Okay.
which he claims hasn't connected anyone yet.
Interesting.
It's a clear example of his belief in the power of the private sector. He sees Musk as a model for innovation and efficiency,
Right.
someone who gets things done without bureaucratic red tape.
Right.
And it highlights another key aspect of his appeal, his ability to connect with people who admire success, who aspire to achieve great things.
Absolutely.
It's like he's saying, if Musk can do it, so can America.
Right.
And it's a message that resonates, especially with people who feel like the American dream is slipping away.
Yeah.
But then he throws a curveball when he says the biggest threat facing the world isn't global warming.
Oh, really?
It's nuclear proliferation.
Mm.
That's a stark departure from the typical environmental focus.
Yeah.
And it speaks to his worldview.
Right.
He prioritizes national security and military strength above all else. He criticizes Biden's handling of nuclear negotiations and expresses concern about other countries, especially North Korea.
Right.
He's painting a picture of a world on the brink,
Yeah.
where America needs a strong leader to stand up to its enemies. And this ties directly into his focus on the enemy from within,
Okay.
a term he uses to highlight dangers at the border.
Yeah.
He claims other countries are emptying their prisons into the U.S., citing figures on murderers and rapists entering the country.
Wow.
This kind of rhetoric is highly charged,
It is.
and it taps into deep-seated fears about immigration and crime.
It does.
It's a way of framing the issue as a battle between good and evil, us versus them.
Right.
And it's a tactic that's been used effectively throughout history to justify restrictive policies and demonize certain groups.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, we have to address the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
His repeated assertions that the 2020 election was stolen.
Yeah.
He cites various examples of supposed fraud,
Yeah.
criticizes voting machines,
Huh?
and calls for paper ballots.
Okay.
He even claims that judges wouldn't hear his evidence.
Interesting.
These claims have been widely debunked,
Yeah.
but they continue to resonate with a segment of the population who are deeply distrustful of the system. And it's a reminder that we're living in an era where facts are often contested
They are.
and where people can choose to believe whatever narrative fits their worldview.
Right.
Which makes this whole interview even more fascinating, right?
Absolutely.
Because it gives us such a raw, unfiltered glimpse into how Trump sees the world
It does.
and why his message continues to resonate with so many people.
It's a window into the mind of one of the most polarizing figures in modern American history.
Yeah.
And it raises a lot of questions about the future of our politics,
Right.
the role of the media,
Yeah?
and the very fabric of our democracy.
We've only scratched the surface here,
Yeah.
and there's so much more to unpack.
Right.
We'll be back in a moment to dive deeper into some of Trump's most controversial claims and what they mean for all of us.
I can't wait.